we can lose that source document. There's nothing wrong with that. But you cannot lose 99 receipts and only save one. That's a problem. If I was an auditor, I wouldn't even accept you as my client. And if I was the IRS, I probably wouldn't believe you. Hello, and thank you for tuning into this video. My name is Abdiwali Mohamed, and I'm a CPA, Certified Public Accountant, and a Master's of Science Federal Taxation holder based in Seattle, Washington. You are most likely here because the subject of this video might be an interest to you. I have been an accountant and a CPA for the last 18 years and counting. I meet many individuals and business owners who want to take care of their personal financial needs, including their individual taxes, and business owners who want to start a new business. In the interest of time, we have divided this video into parts. There will be 6 parts. We're now gonna go to part 3, understanding financial statements. This is really very important. But to understand the financial statements, you must understand this part, which is understanding classes of accounts. If you don't understand classes of accounts, your balance sheet, your assets, your liabilities, your owner's equity, you're not going to understand financial statements. So if I lose you while I am describing financial statements, I will recommend that you rewind this for a moment and start from understanding accounts. And hopefully, you will join us on our next slide. So right now, we are in part 3, understanding financial statements. I love financial statements. The reason why I love financial statements, great financial statements make my job easier, especially when I'm giving you advice. Whether the advice is selling your business or refinancing your business, refinancing your car, getting a loan from SBA, getting a loan from the bank. Financial statements help me to advise you. But lack of financial statements, I can't give you advice. Think of it as a dish that has a hole in it. As you pour water in it, the water is not going to stay. So it's a waste. It's a waste of your time because you're paying someone like me high dollars to give you advice, but there is nothing for me to give you advice on. I'll only be giving you general information. Now, let's go to part 3, understanding financial statements. What are financial statements? Well, it's a formal written records that convey the financial activities and conditions of a business entity that consist of income statement, which are revenue minus expenses, which equals to a profit or a loss. A balance sheet, we talked about that. Assets minus liabilities equals to equity, right? Shows what you own, assets, and the debts you owe, liabilities. Owner's equity is the difference between assets and liabilities. A statement of cash flow. It presents the cash inflows and outflows that occurred during the reporting period. For example, do you have enough cash to pay salaries? Do you have enough cash to pay rent? Do you have enough cash to cover 1 year's worth of operating expenses? A statement of retained earnings. It presents changes in equity during the reporting period, reconciles changes in retained earnings account during a reporting period. Generally or traditionally, small business owners will most likely need the first 2, an income statement and a balance sheet. A statement of cash flow, statement of earnings is good to have it. And it's really a very simple to prepare as long as you have a fantastic, great, balanced balance sheet and an income statement. The other 2 will be easy to do. But if you don't have those 2 and you're required to have those 2, it will be very difficult to prepare them. We're going to continue our understanding of financial statements. I apologize if I'm trying to fit this into a slideshow, but this is really what an income statement looks like. On the top, you have your revenues. On the bottom, you have your expenses, and then you have your profit. For those of you who are small business owners, and if you have QuickBooks or other financial statements, you're probably familiar with how this looks like. So I'm not going to bore you on this slide. We're going to go to the next slide. I actually added this slide in as a cost of allocation because there are some entities that wants to keep track of separate expenses. Normally, it's for not-for-profit organizations. You get funding from multiple funders. In this case, I live in King County, and I live in Washington State. So if you're not for profit organization, you can be getting funding from the federal government, from Washington State, from King County, from the city of Seattle. So of course, you have to keep track of the expenses for each funding. So you have to have something called cost of allocation. Cost allocation is the process of identifying, aggregating, and assigning cost to cost objectives. I'm not really going to spend a lot of time here. If you are a business owner or a not-for-profit organization that deals with this, feel free to reach out to me personally. I'll be more than happy to provide additional details for you. We're still in understanding financial statements. This is a balance sheet, very simple one. This is my company. I have $1 million. I don't. But just think of it as my assets as $1 million. And this building is $500,000 mortgage. Okay. Well, obviously, I can pay off the mortgage today if I want to, right? But if I do, I will not have $1 million. I will have $500,000. So my cash or my assets is 1 million. But in reality, I am not worth 1 million. I'm only worth $500,000 because I have a mortgage, I have a debt. So this is what a balance sheet looks like, okay? And 2017, 2018, that's just a kind of a typical thing to show if you're increasing, okay? That's a sample of what a balance sheet looks like for those of you who haven't seen a balance sheet before. So for example, my return earnings at December 31st, 2017, this is the oldest slide I'm using, was 1 million. My income for this year was 500,000. So now I have 1.5 million in the bank, or, as my will show, but I have paid my partners, my shareholders, dividends of $250,000. So what I have left is $1.2 million. I'm sorry, $1,250,000 is what I have left as my return earnings. You see, in the beginning, I said it will be easy to prepare this if you have an accurate financial statements, because I will get those numbers from those financial statements. Now, we're going to talk to understanding GAAP. What is GAAP? You're probably wondering. Well, it's not the retail store. It has 2 double A's here, okay? So, sorry, I like to joke a lot. We accountants are known for not joking, but I think I have a sense of humor. So understanding GAAP. Well, we talked about assets. We talked about liabilities. We talked about equity. We talked about revenues. We talked about expenses. Well, all those have rules and regulations. So GAAP is actually, it's called, I'm going to go to the next slide, but it stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. It's basically, it's government rules that we have to abide by. Okay? Practices and procedures that all accountants must follow when preparing your financial statements. Okay? You as an owner, you have a responsibility to follow as well, because your accountant or CPA, when they're auditing you and stuff, they're going to be saying, management follows GAAP. And they will send you a letter confirming that you do. Okay? So it's very important that you understand what GAAP is. And if you don't understand, it's okay. Hire a professional that will make your job easier so you can focus on the business and the accountant can focus on GAAP. Okay? It's how accountants should record accounting activities and report accounting information. GAAP ensures that all accounting information is fair, free from bias, and reliable. Bookkeepers might not follow GAAP, but I have to follow GAAP as a CPA or an accountant. I want to go back to fair, free, and reliable. What does fair mean to you? What does free mean to you? What does from bias mean to you? What does reliable means to you? Well, for me, a fair means to me an honest presentation of all your accounting records. Free from bias means to me that I have no conflict of interest in it. That I want to pat the cash more to show the bank I qualify for more from bias. Reliable means that if I look at your financial statements, I can rely on it. I can trust it. I can make a mortgage. I can give you a loan on it. Okay? That's what it means to you. It can mean something different to you, but in reality, that's what it should mean to all of us. Right? We're going to continue GAAP. Okay? A brief description of GAAP. It's a business entity concept. It's an accounting for businesses must be kept separate from affairs of the owner. So these are the type of things that GAAP talks about. I'm not really going to bore you with it. You can read it yourself. But one thing that I want to preach on is what they call the conservative principle. Its information must be fair and reasonable. Values must not be overstated or understated. So for example, for the purposes of taxes, you're not overstating your expenses. And for the purposes of getting a loan, you're not understating your expenses. So you can qualify for a better loan, right? So you want to be an honest, a fair business owner, right? Yes. Continuing GAAP, objectivity principle. Transactions must be based on objective evidence, right? Each transaction must have a verifiable source document to prove when it happened, what it was for, and how much. Sometimes we can lose that source document. There's nothing wrong with that. But you cannot lose 99 receipts and only save one. That's a problem. If I was an auditor, I wouldn't even accept you as my client. And if I was the IRS, I probably wouldn't believe you, right? It's okay to lose or misplace a source document, right? But if you present the information in a reliable, fair way, there is a possibility that a bank might accept, an IRS officer might accept, or I can even accept, okay? I want to talk about the recognition principle. This is really very important. It talks about revenue. Revenue, remember, I'm an accountant, I provide services, you pay me for my services, right? Revenue is recognized when it has been earned, whether the money has been received or not. Expenses are recognized when they have been consumed, whether paid or not. This is very important when preparing financial statements and tax returns. Is the business accounting method cash basis or an accrual basis? You probably heard about those with your CPA or accountant. You're probably wondering, what the devil is cash basis or accrual basis? Well, a cash basis basically is I recognize the revenue when you pay me cash. But if I did the work for you and I sent you an invoice and you pay me, say, a month later, and I chose to be an accrual method, I have to recognize that revenue. Matching principle talks about you have to match the expenses or the revenue in the period they happened. This usually happens around December time because we're closing the year, right? And I have paid my credit card online on December 29th, right? But because it's ACH, the cash will not come out of my account until January 2nd and stuff. Well, guess what? I show more cash in my bank because, Citi or Bank of America hasn't pulled the money out of my account, right? But I have to record the expenses or the liability in December 2020. So consistency, right? If you start with something, you must stay with it, right? And you can only change it after a period sometimes. And sometimes you need a permission from the IRS to change that because the change might be benefiting you. It might not be benefiting the government, right? So just think about that as well. I think we have a couple of more slides left about GAAP. I know it's a very boring stuff, but it's a very, very important thing. There is something also called materiality. Okay. We're talking about still financial statements. Okay. In GAAP, GAAP principles must be followed unless the value of transaction is considered insignificant or immaterial. Well, what's insignificant or immaterial? Well, what's material to me might not be material to you as a big company. Okay. So, for example, I'll use a Fortune 500 company, say Amazon. $1,000 or $10,000 to them might be immaterial when it comes to write off. But a small business owner who has gross receipts of, say, $100,000 or even $250,000, that's a very material amount, which means you have to fully disclose it or you have to record it as material. All information about the company's financial situation must be included in the financial statements. So now we're going to go to part 4, understanding accounting and or financial systems.